This week on The Real Estate of Life with Kevin Riles and Friends, Kevin presents Part 2 on Apartment Investing 101. So lean in and listen up for another informative episode of The Real Estate of Life with Kevin Riles and Friends. Support for this program comes from the Digital Broadcasting Network, presenting podcasts and web series from everyday people who have an extraordinary passion to make the world a better place.
All right. Now, you take one of these properties, and let's say I specialize, let's go ABC. I'll give you the technical definitions, I'm going to give you how we use it. So in apartment investing, or really in commercial real estate in general, there are different property classes. A class, B class, C class. A class, B class, C class. A class is essentially new properties. Properties less than 10 years old, typically, is considered an A-class property. B-class property is usually between 10 and say 20 years old. I'm being real general, it depends on the class of property, right? C-class is everything else, right? And then D and F, no, I'm just joking. It's only A, B, and C. However, there are some D's out there.
Wouldn't D be the hood property, right?
Yeah, no, well, sometimes, yeah, you're right. Sometimes I've seen D inside the loop in Montrose, right? It just depends on the level of work. So to explain that, to that point, A properties, what you will hear people say is, so for instance, these two properties right here, specifically the Scott Gray property, right? That property is an older property. It was built in the 60s, right? But it's been completely and totally renovated. It's like, when I looked at the pictures, I wanted to live there. It's awesome. So what you will say is, technically that's a C property, by definition. But you will hear people say it's B plus or A minus because it's been renovated to a today's standard. Or they may say it's a C class property renovated to an A. Or they may say it's a B plus property, but it's an A area. So what we start doing is we start using A, B, and C for area, for the condition of the property, and things of that nature. But A technically means a newer property. But you will hear us say it's A property because they took it to the studs and started over, even though it was technically built in 1965. All right. B properties are the same. You'll hear us say, well, technically it's a C because of the age, but it's been renovated to a B standard. B standard means I might not have done travertine, I might have just done really nice top, right? And puts a kiss of granite on it and things of that nature, right? And then C typically means age, 60s, 70s, and I'm kind of copacetic. I might have renovated, but it's what I call safe, decent, clean. Right? It's not, oh my God, it's safe, decent, clean. Formica, stick and peel, like C class, right? And so what I always tell people from an investor standpoint, since it's apartment 101, is that in my opinion, the best investment, if you can find them, are C class apartment complexes at the end of the day. And the reason I say that is because typically your C class is almost recession proof. One, and what I mean by that is typically what happens is this. The economy's doing really, really well. A class is whipping butt. B class is doing okay. C class is kind of all right, right? But when the economy does, so about 3 years ago, all these A-class apartment complexes y'all see around the Beltway and along 45, they were sucking wind. They were giving out free flat screen TVs, kids, they were giving anything, blood, anything they could, 3 months rent to get you in the door, right? Taking rent concessions. And what happened was, because the economy wasn't doing well, people that couldn't afford an A, guess what they stayed? The B's. People that couldn't afford the B's, guess what they stayed? The C's, right? And people that couldn't afford the C's, D's, or just, wherever, I don't know. Then when the economy gets better, guess what happens? D's go to the C's go to the B's, and the B's go to the A's. Guess who never really loses a whole lot of occupancy if you have a decent product? C, right? I can't remember that on my own. It's probably something like, right? So to me, now what you may have to do during a recession is discount rent, right? So, because if I'm coming down, I'm looking for cheaper rent. So you may have to concess on rent, but at the end of the day, it's in the middle of the pack. And so to me, those are the best opportunities. A, to me, is usually institutional and or you can withstand from an economic standpoint any kind of downturn or change in the economy. A-class properties across commercial property types are more sensitive to the economy, right? Because they're newer, they're better, they're more expensive, things of that nature, right? The great thing about C-class properties right now is there's never been a time where in Houston where you're getting better rents on C-class property. When I first really started doing multifamily hard and heavy, C-class property rents were like 70 cents to 75 cents a square foot, plus or minus, right? Right now they're $1.30. That's been like 6 years, right? $1.30 a square foot. Pretty much no matter where you go in Houston, it's gonna be plus or minus $1, but most likely right now $1.10, $1.20 a square foot, right? That means 800 square foot apartment, I'm getting $1,000 in rent. That sounds about right? Even out here, I'll probably get a little bit more, but I'm just saying, right? It's plus or minus $1. So what I'm saying is that if recession hits, things go bad, maybe that goes back down to $1.10, right? But again, I'm still occupied. I'm still servicing my debt if I took on debt. So that's why I'm a big fan, if you can find them, of C-class properties. The other thing, outside the scope of this, I think, because this is what I'm doing, I have 2 lots that I'm about to build 2 duplexes on. There is not enough affordable new construction multifamily in the greater Houston area. And what I mean by that, when I say affordable, people always think I mean like, like bad stuff. No, I'm talking about like $1 a square foot, $1.25 a square foot, safe, decent, clean, just happens to be new type stuff, right? There's just not enough of it. So to me, I've been telling people, especially since the market has been kind of getting up there, that is the next opportunity, is to develop duplexes, quads, sixplexes. Because I can tell you now, if I'm selling you a 10 or a 20 or a 30 or a 40 or a 50 unit in Houston right now, that property was built before 1985. There's no new product in under 50 units in Houston, period, point blank. So what's that mean? That means that, and when I say Houston, I mean Greater Houston, out here as well, right? Right now, code-wise, it makes it difficult to do it in Houston, but in some of these, like Texas City and Lamarck and League City and things like that, you can still do that, right? You can still do that. So to me, that's an opportunity for folks to develop multi-unit property, small multi-unit property. So just put that out there. Any questions about A, B, and C? All right. CapEx. CapEx. Capital expenditures. Capital expenditures. What does that mean? Capital expenditures are things that you will do to a property. You can do this on your single family as well, that have an economic value, life value of more than a year. Right? So if you go in and you fix a leaky toilet, that's just a repair. You go in and replace the toilet, that's a capital expenditure. Does that make sense? Right? If you go in and fix a broken window or window pane, that's a repair. You go in and replace all the windows, that's a capital expenditure. Right? And so the reason I point that out is because some mom and pops, in order to reduce their net operating income for tax reasons, they will expense their capital expenditures in their profit and loss statements.
Is it gonna fly? It's not gonna fly though.
Well, depends. If they're not trying to sell it doesn't really matter, right? They're trying to reduce their taxable income, which I understand. I got to do my tax now. If I can write off my tolls, I'm gonna write them off, right? But I need them, right? And so, but I always tell people I wish I could get to sellers that do that a year before, so I can say, hey, all that capital expenditure work that you did, don't write that up. Don't put that in your profit and loss this year. Put that over, and I'm being real technical here. Put that over in your balance sheet, which is where it really is supposed to go. All right, I'm being financial kind of CPA nerd, but at the end of the day, it reduces your income. And so if I'm trying to sell your property, I need your net operating income to be at its highest point, right? So that I can apply that cap rate and get you the highest value. If you write off all your new air conditioning units and all your new sinks and all your new flooring, I understand from a tax standpoint that's advantageous because my net operating income is going to be lower, right? But when I go to a buyer and say, hey, I want you to buy this, he's like, well, no, that's calculated out to be a 5 cap. No. What he did was he put all the ACs Well, show me, right? So what I do a lot of times when I get financials from an owner, I ask them, have you done any capital expenditures in the last year? Oh yeah, we did this, and this. Can you give me the receipts of those so I can back those out of your repair number? Right? That's the Uncle Sam game versus the sale game. So you just need to be aware that we call that CapEx, right? And capital expenditure is a long-term repair. The same thing when you do, I'm not a CPA, somebody might need to be a CPA, but the same thing when you do your single family on your schedule, whatever the schedule is, forgot the schedule. All right, I'm not CPA, I just play one. But, so capital expenditure, knowing that is important. Now, as far as, and I'm, as we would say in the tradition of African American church, as I come to a close, at the beginning of this, I put this reporting, and this is from the second quarter of last year, but things really haven't changed all that much. As far as the market is concerned, the market is hot. It is. And so I'm not one of those ones that will tell you that it's easy necessarily to find a deal right now, because it's even challenging for me to find product to market right now. But I'm still doing deals, all right? And the reason I'm still doing deals is because I'm always searching for deals, and deals are still getting done. I think people are having to redefine what a deal is, especially if you're an experienced multifamily investor. You're looking for those 9 and 10 caps that we used to have like 3-4 years ago, and those 9 and 10 caps are now 8 caps, right? Still a good cap, but you know, if you grown up thinking I'm gonna get 10, 11, 12 cap, and all of a sudden everything's traded for 8, it seems like the market is too expensive. And for some of it, it is. And so I think if you guys are thinking about getting a multifamily investment, it's very, and whether it's me or not, I really mean this. I think it's important that you get with either an experienced investor who's done multifamily before, or you get with a broker that understands multifamily, because you can get yourself in a little bit of a hiccup by overbuying on your first deal, and please everybody pay their rent. Please everybody pay. You don't want to be in that situation where you need to be running at 90%, 95%, max out rents, $1.35 to just service your debt. You don't want to be in that situation. That's a passable deal to me. What I'm finding though, are people are finding deals in tertiary markets around Houston now, which are the Lake Jacksons, my family's from Bay City, Texas, old Angleton, Clute, Conroe, basically everything outside of Houston. Now, with that being said, are deals still being done in Houston? Yes, they are. So I'm not saying that they're just a little bit harder to find. So with that being said, cap rate, we got a good understanding of cap rate is. Net operating income, good understanding NOI. Internal rate of return, what my dollar is making inside the investment. Didn't go over RUBS. So on some of the older properties, they're single meter. It means there's one electricity meter, or there's one water meter, or there's one meter for a particular utility. And so what owners are starting to do, or they've been doing it in the larger properties, but even in the smaller properties, it's very expensive to take, say, 24 units with one electricity meter and either sub-meter those or split that electricity out. That's an expensive thing to do, right? So what people are doing is they're doing RUBS, which basically, just maybe this is late, the acronym just left me.
Ratio utility.
Thank you. Ratio utility billing system. Thank you. Appreciate that. I owe you something. And so at the end of the day, what they do is they average out the utility bill and they bill the tenant. So it used to be the owner would just eat that. It would be on their expense statement, and electricity is $10,000 a month. I'm paying $10,000 a month. So now they're taking that $10,000 a month and said, I have 24 tenants. I'm going to basically ration that per tenant and send the tenant a separate bill. So they pay their rent, then they get a utility bill or a RUBS bill that says your portion of the utility electricity is $100 this month. And so what does that do? That basically makes all your rent or more of your rent profit, because now they're sharing in the cost of that utility. And they do that with water as well. All right. There are consultants out there that can show you all the calculus behind how they do that. Now you can sub-meter and you can re-meter. It's just an expensive thing, and especially it's hard to do unless you're buying a property that's completely empty, and then it's much easier to do a re-meter or a sub-meter when the property is empty than when people are living. Right? RUBS, A, B, and C, pro forma versus actuals, capital expenditures, and then again, you get your value by dividing the net operating income over the cap rate. So, any questions? Apartment 101, anything I didn't answer, stuff about the market, that's kind of my spiel tonight.
How do you feel the market's moving right now?
It is expensive
Yeah.
and tight. I won't say it's bubblish, but last year at the end of the year, I sold a 72-unit apartment complex for, luckily it flooded and had been renovated, but I sold it for $65 a door, and I know 2 years ago that was a $45 a door deal. 2 years ago, not 5 years ago. So I get a lot of calls when I have a decent amount of multifamily listings from outside capital, New York, Toronto, and California. I don't know what it is about Toronto, but I get calls from Canada. And that capital is coming here and it's competing with this capital. Again, demand, supply, up. So, yeah.
On like recent deals that you've done, what do you see as the spread? What's like the spread between cap and debt? I guess it depends on what type of asset it is, but kind of what are the spreads you're seeing between whatever they're closing their financing at versus whatever the actual cap rate was?
So the 72 unit I closed at the end of the year, that was an off-market deal. So let me back up. Because I'm marketing all the time, sometimes we'll come up with deals that that I can call. I know you're looking for a specific type of apartment complex or whatever the case may be. So I'll call you and say, hey, I have this deal. Do you want it, to take a look at it before we put the eyes on it, basically. So that was an off-market deal. He actually got an 8.5 cap for that deal, which was pretty decent. But he did the Freddie Mac small balance program, which is another seminar. With different types of financing, but 20% down, and his rate was 5 1/8, 5 1/4. So that was a pretty good spread.
Got a balloon payment?
Yeah, all commercial, usually a 5-year. It's cast out for 20. Actually, the Freddie Mac program will cast out for 25, but they all do on a 5. Yeah. But every type of commercial finance, true commercial finance, is going to be cast out for 5 or 7 because they want to participate. If rates go up in 5 years, they want to participate in that. So very seldom you get it fixed on a commercial. Any other questions?
You said you're thinking about doing, well, not thinking about, but you're having.
I got my plans approved.
They're approved?
Yeah.
Inside the move or?
In South Park.
Okay.
Sunnyside area. So
Okay.
I've had 2 lots over there for a long time, and decided to do that with the auspices of doing it other places with some other types of programs the city used to have, but I want to do it on my own dollar first, just so that I've been doing this a long time, and from a reputation standpoint, I just want to make sure I have a good product before I put it out there. So.
And from a cost basis,
Oh.
to pay back on that is gonna be.
My cash on cash return on that, if my pro forma.
Yeah.
My pro forma cash on cash return is like 25%. It's right now, building something from scratch and renovating something are almost part and parcel of the same.
That's what I'm looking at, that's what I'm seeing as well.
What are you
That's what I'm
looking at for
considering.
cost per square foot to build it?
I am looking at right now, the best bid I have is like $85 a foot. I'm not building the Taj Mahal, I'm building decent, safe, clean.
But on slab or?
No,
on
pier and beam.
beam?
Yeah, I like pier and beam front. It's a personal thing.
Wow.
All the houses I've sold, I started off the real estate beside the loop, Every house, my first houses that I was selling, they were all pier and beam, and they're built 1930s, and their foundations were still relatively in decent shape. So, not all the time.
I don't know if it's like, I'll get asked, but do you actually invest, like, so right now in multifamily, or do you kind
question.
of separate yourself, or what's?
So, I've been separating myself. So, my business story is this. Full time, started in 1998. Regular real estate Rick, selling houses, this and the other. Got the HUD contract, went from zero to hero literally in a weekend. Went from 7 listings to 157 listings over 2 weekends. For 5 years, managed that process. Then Armageddon hit 2006, 2007, 2008. And this is all on my podcast, by the way. I tell my stories. My wife said, tell your business in the podcast. But anyway, long story short, even though I was selling foreclosures, business wasn't, people weren't buying at the same clip. So I had all these foreclosures. So in order to survive, because I actually practiced real estate, I wasn't just buying it, I sold off all my investment properties. So my office building, had a couple single families, this and the other. And so fast forward now to 10 years, I have bought an office condo, and I have land holdings because of what I want to do. I have lots and some acreage and things of that nature. But no, I haven't invested in multifamily because I wanted people to see me as a broker and not competing against them or trying to make money on the side, things of that nature. But with that being said, this year I plan to start a fund in order to take advantage of opportunities. Because sometimes even when I go out to try to broker a deal, if I had money backing me, then I could take down a deal as a group. And so I've had so many people. You really can't get started in bigger multifamily with $25,000. You need to be kind of at the 150, 200 range to kind of even play in that 25 to 50 unit range. And so I have so many people that call me to have 25 or 50 or 17 that I think can participate and still do well. So that's why I plan to do a fund this year. And my blood type is not.
Quick question, your vision because you may have seen me, because I agree with you 100%. I think being able to fill that need for something new, something nice, something safe, something clean for people who are hardworking individuals.
Yeah.
So what's your vision for that? Like, are you duplex quads, okay, are you gonna sell them so they actually get that ownership, or are you talking about renting, leasing?
So my experience has been, and I teach community development, so let me preface it with this. Every community development or CDC housing program is based on the people owning a home, eventually being able to own a house. My experience, boots on the ground over 20 years of dealing with that, is that not everybody wants to or can own a home. So what happens to that significant portion of the population? They get priced out and priced into areas where, and that to me, so I think our whole housing policy needs to shift and say, okay, yeah, a portion of it, we should try to encourage homeownership because that truly is where wealth is built. But there are people that they want to rent, they don't want to own, you try to get them to own, they default, whatever. So what happens to that particular population? So my vision is to cater to those folks. These specific duplexes I want to put on VHASH, which is Veterans Housing Assistance Program, which is basically Section 8 veterans. Because I have a friend that works with that program and they have difficulty finding housing. And so that's the hard part, build them and then have what we call supportive housing, small supportive housing, which is the Veteran Housing Assistance Program. So that's my vision with these particular duplexes for me to own. Now, with that being said, every time I tell somebody I'm doing that, they say, oh, I want to do that. And so could I white box them and start selling them? Yeah, I can, but I want to do them myself first. Because it only takes one bad deal. Like, y'all see all that good stuff about me and my bio and all that stuff. It just takes one bad deal and Wayne don't feel with my door. And I'm just real good stuff.
Not him anymore.
Yeah, not him, but whoever the guy that's in your trash can.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want that to do. Yeah.
So is the Section 8B housing, is that guaranteed?
Yep.
Yes.
Is that guaranteed?
The government pays their bills on time, even in the shutdown. Well, almost. Section 8 almost got a little close. for the first time here. But yeah, I have a former client has 43 houses, 42 of them on Section 8, all direct deposit on the first of the month.
And that extends past Harris County, that's.
Yeah, so, everywhere. Some of the counties have their own housing. So if it's outside of the city of Houston, it's in the ETJ, extraterritorial jurisdiction. Then Harris County has a housing authority. And then, I say every county. Yeah, most counties have a housing authority.
Do those have to be in city or can they be in county?
In county. But if it's in county, then the county's housing authority deals with it, not the city's. I'm not a Section 8 expert, but I know that for a fact. Yeah.
You know, I came from Florida and I used to do a lot of Section 8 housing for seniors.
Mm-hmm. That's another population, by the way.
Great. That's a great tool.
Another population.
But we don't get a spray right concept.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. You can charge a difference, but I had a guy who bought a 20 unit inside the loop, and he did the only restriction you can put from a protected class is age. He did over 55, affordable, over 55. And they, and it was full, never had any issues because they're happy, good tenants. You know, they just had to let them barbecue outside. That was the only thing that, he had a little risk on. But, it was just, but it was just cool. And I was like, man, that's a really, really good idea. So as it emptied, he advertised over 55. So you can do over 55, communities.
Is that considered just senior or is that also retirement?
Yeah, whoever's over 55. Yeah. So whatever, because I would say probably 70% of those folks will still work. Yeah. But just that age group, they're not headbanging against the wall at night.
Don't you file state papers for that? Do you have to file the papers within the state that you're creating a 55 and over?
That part I don't know. I just know he did.
That was really my question. What's the difference?
I would have to get you with the real estate attorney to find out. I don't know the answer to that, but I do know he did. Any questions?
If I bought a vacant duplex inside the loop and hadn't been living in a while, can you share with me about occupancy permits?
About to take a duplex.
Bring it all up to code and then you get an occupancy permit? Is that how this works?
So there's no occupancy permit for residential, but you pull permits. Each trade pulls permits. So it's no different than a single family, if you've ever done a single family. So plumber has to pull a permit. Well, let me say this because I know I'm invested. Supposed to pull a permit.
Gotta pull a permit.
Electrical, all the trades, but there's no occupancy permit. Now, which brings up a good point. If you buy a multi-family, anything over 3 units in the city of Houston requires a certificate of habitability, which is different than an occupancy permit.
3 and over or over 3?
Over 3.
Okay.
Over 3. So up to 3, you're good. Once you cross over the 4-plex, you need an occupancy, habitability. And the certificate of habitability is basically, for lack of a better term, it's the slumlord provision. And they come out and they check your foundation, your electrical. They check if you have stairs. They check the distance between your rise and run. Exactly. Rise and run. I've been drinking that. And so, and make sure that it's a safety where kids can't fall through it. They check basically life safety things. And it's available online. If you Google certificate of habitability Houston, they have a checklist online of everything that they'll go through. And they do it every 2 years. And they call it a certificate. You don't get a certificate, you either pass or fail. But if you fail, they come back out. And if you don't, they can fine you on a daily basis, so on and so forth. A lot of people, when they buy multifamily, especially 16, 20 units, they've never heard of it. In the city, it always seems to happen. The city's up on the 2 years, they knock on the door like 2 months later and say, oh, hey, you got $100,000 worth of work you need to do. And they're like, oh, I didn't know. No one's up. So whenever I submit an offer on behalf of the buyer, I always ask for proof that they passed the certificate of habitability. telling y'all right now, when you do not, that's gonna say that somebody ain't gives money if they buy something in Houston. And if they don't have it, then I take that into consideration as I'm negotiating, because they may not have it, you still may want the deal, but you need to look at that checklist to see the stuff on that checklist is gonna be done correctly, how much it's gonna cost you.
So does that apply to condos where every unit is owned by?
No. It applies to multifamily, single. So if you own 20 condos out of a 40 condo association, then that's another code. The condo association in the city get together versus if you own all 40 of those condos, you'll be dealing with the city from an occupancy standpoint. I know it's weird. But. Oh. Everybody's on the ropes. They're doing the city window like this.
Everybody give Kevin a hand.
Hey, thanks for listening as always. Do you have questions about any of the topics I'm talking about? If you have questions, let me know. Email me at kevin@kevinriles.com. Again, that's kevin@kevinriles.com. I'm going to do a podcast just on the questions that you guys are sending me. So feel free to send them to me. Again, that's kevin@kevinriles.com.